Welcome to Crux of the Matter, viewers. A major announcement has been made by the Union Home Minister, Mr. Amit Shah. Mr. Amit Shah believes the time has come to repeal AFSPA, or the Armed Forces Special Powers Act, from the state of Jammu and Kashmir. According to Shah, the troops will move gradually from the Union territory and go to their barracks. The government has apparently designed a 7-year blueprint to cement a sense of normalcy in the state. As you know, viewers, the AFSPA gives armed forces personnel operating in disturbed areas, quote, special powers, unquote, like arresting individuals they find suspicious and doing encounters if they deem it necessary for the maintenance of, quote, law and order, unquote. An area or district is notified as disturbed under the AFSPA to facilitate the operations of the armed forces. For a while now, the centre has maintained that since the abrogation of Article 370, terrorist activities have dwindled in the region significantly. Now, viewers, the arguments for and against the repeal or the withdrawal of AFSPA are back in focus, because there are some who believe that Kashmir may not be ready, that even though Article 370 has been abrogated and there is a semblance of normalcy and you can visibly tap into it because there are fewer encounters and there is bustling civic life, the external threat remains. First, look at the arguments for the abrogation of the repeal of AFSPA. The first and most important argument that is being put forth is that the abrogation of Article 370 has ushered unprecedented period of normalcy in Jammu and Kashmir. Viewers, the other side says that the external threat from an unstable Pakistan to security situation in Kashmir remains. In fact, given the political instability in Pakistan, one doesn't quite know whether the government there is in a position to relinquish its grip over cross-border terror, at least the machinery that facilitates cross-border terror. Another argument in favor of the repeal of AFSPA is that encounters and terrorist activity is at an all-time low in Kashmir. The other side says that terrorists have begun targeted killings in civilian areas, necessitating the presence of armed forces in these areas, and because the armed forces will willy-nilly come into conflict with civilians, it is important for operational security that they have some sort of a legal cover. Viewers, the government says that Jammu and Kashmir police is increasingly leading anti-terror operations, prompting a gradual army pullback to the barracks. The argument against this is that the EC itself has cited precarious security situation in Jammu and Kashmir as a reason to not conduct parallel assembly and Lok Sabha polls. In fact, the math, viewers, the EC did for us when that press conference took place a few weeks ago, in which the EC talked about how there will be almost 1,000 candidates taking part in the assembly elections, and they will need to deploy about 3 or 4 companies to ensure that they are secured, these candidates are secured because of the prevailing security threat. So viewers, let's ask this question, because political gestures are one thing, security is quite another. Should the twains now meet, or viewers, is this a step in the right direction, because it confirms, it reaffirms J&K's return to normalcy and its psychological, physical and of course, viewers, political integration with the mainland. And let me first begin this debate with Sushant Sareen, Senior Fellow of the ORF. Mr. Sareen, let me ask you, because you have a very, very good understanding also of the external situation that threatens Kashmir today. And this is a situation that arises out of Pakistan, and it has done so for now at least 3.5 to 4 decades. Is this the right time to repeal AFSPA and build confidence, as the government wants to do, in the valley, and also, of course, embark on an outreach with the Kashmiri people?
So, Rahul, very quickly, we have to understand this AFSPA, for want of a better word, it's not a license to kill. It's just it's a law which facilitates and gives the army police powers so that it can operate in a dynamic situation. It doesn't have to be waiting until it is given the order to fire by the district magistrate. So quite simply, it is that. It has been demonized, but I don't want to get into that argument. Now, as far as revoking it or repealing it right now in Jammu and Kashmir, I would say that it's premature. I think even the Home Minister's comments have been kind of blown out of proportion. He was asked a question and he answered that yes, we can consider it. I don't think it is imminent just yet. But and there are 4 or 5 reasons why I believe that this is highly premature to do it right now. Number one, to do it piecemeal doesn't really work very well. We've seen it in other places. We've even seen it, for example, in Jammu and Kashmir, that while the AFSPA was not repealed, the RR, which is the cutting edge of AFSPA, the Rashtriya Rifles, in some parts of Kashmir, some of those units had been withdrawn, and within a few weeks, a couple of months, things started going back, in a bad direction in those places. So what we know is that terrorists and separatists are down, but they are not out. They've gone into the woodwork. The mothership of terrorism, parties like Jamaat-e-Islami, still exist. They have been banned, but their network still exists. Many of these characters continue to be in the government, and the Pakistanis, as we know very well, are always itching and continuously sending in terrorists. We've seen examples of that. Right now in the Jammu region, we've seen a spate of attacks taking place, most of them traced to Pakistan. The Pakistani jihadi groups again have gone underground, but they've not disappeared. They continue to enjoy the support of the Pakistani state, which is constantly trying to look for options to reignite the flames in Kashmir. So one is the external threat. The other is the fact that there are separatists within. I would say that yes, you are right, and I think the government's assessment is right, that the situation in Jammu and Kashmir is the best it has been since insurgency and separatism broke out in the late 80s, early 90s. It is certainly as good as that, but it doesn't take much for the things to start reversing. Also remember, right now the state is under central rule. It's a union territory. Police powers are with the central government. The coordination between Jammu and Kashmir police, which has rendered massive sacrifices for keeping this country together, and I think we must bow our heads, in deference to the Jammu and Kashmir police and, of course, the Indian Army. They are working very closely together. But what happens if 6 months from now statehood is restored, and some of those parties with very dubious leadership, very dubious connections, and with a tendency to flirt with the separatists, we have certain former chief ministers and we know the kind of politics they have been espousing. And once those guys come in and they start interfering with the police, they start cutting slack for separatists, they start releasing some of these guys, under this so-called healing touch formula, which one of the ministers and her party's people have been doing in the past. What happens at that point of time? Will you then sack that government? Then the messaging which goes is very negative. Number one. Number two, having repealed AFSPA, do you reimpose it? It becomes that much more difficult, especially if the state government is not on board.
Okay.
So I think we need to wait and watch. There is no rush right now. There is no major demand in Jammu and Kashmir. There is nothing in Kashmir which suggests that if you remove AFSPA, everything will become hunky-dory.
Okay, so let me...
There is nothing
Let
So
me
I think we need to be careful at.
Okay, so I think that's a very comprehensive view that has been spelled out by Mr. Sareen. Let me bring in Guru Paswan. Guru Prasad Paswan, it's a simple question. What really is Amit Shah, the Union Home Minister, getting at? Government planning to pull back troops. We are thinking of revoking AFSPA. We will leave law and order to the Jammu and Kashmir police. Are we today politicizing internal security, perhaps to score a brownie point or to underline the fact that the government has done a brilliant job of transforming the situation in Kashmir after the abrogation of Article 3? In short, let me be blunt. Let me ask you, is this an attempt at playing to the political galleries?
Rahul, I think you have brought a very important point when you said the focus on internal security. And I would like to go back to the year 2008 when the then Prime Minister Manmohan Singh said that the biggest threat to our country, the biggest threat to internal security is nationalism. And today we see the red corridor that used to be of more than 200 districts has now reduced to less than 30 districts. So security, sovereignty is our firm commitment. It is certainly non-negotiable. What the Union Home Minister is indicating is that we should understand that the Supreme Court has given September 2024 as a date for holding elections in Jammu and Kashmir. We saw as far as the withdrawal of Armed Forces Special Power Act is concerned, April 2022, it was removed, revoked from parts of Assam, Manipur and Nagaland. So continuously, there is an increasing sense of peace, security and stability in the disturbed areas across the country. You spoke about some of the data. You see, in 2010, there were 2,564 incidents of stone pelting. In 2023, there were 0 incidents of stone pelting. What does this indicate? In terms of civilian death, there were 1,800 civilian deaths from 2004 to 2014. From 2014 to 2024, there were only 300 civilian deaths, 81% reduction in terms of civilian deaths. We saw the District Development Council elections as well. We see the massive infrastructure push through AIMS, IIT, IIM, NIT. When on March 7 this year, Rahul, you would remember the Prime Minister was in Jammu and Kashmir, in Kashmir specifically, and he made a promise. He made a promise of Naya Kashmir, which would consist on 3 pillars: democratic Kashmir, prosperous Kashmir, and equitable Kashmir. So certainly it is very welcome that we are having an honest conversation. We are having a very dispassionate, objective conversation on whether to remove Armed Forces Special Power Act gradually and slowly from parts of Jammu and Kashmir or not. I want to ask you a question, Rahul. Can you imagine a similar conversation 10 years ago or 5 years ago for that matter? That people, the civil society, the security establishment, they're even contemplating, they're even thinking of having a dialogue or discussion on slowly revocating Armed Forces Special Power Act from parts of Jammu and Kashmir. This is a welcome move. We saw 2019 elections of District Development Council. This year is the deadline for the Jammu Kashmir Assembly election. So it is very important. It is our firm commitment to have an election in Jammu and Kashmir. That election commission has also indicated. And I think it is a build-up. It is a gradual build-up to September 2024 when we would see the democratic participation by the people of Jammu and Kashmir. And I am not convinced by your hypothetical question that this is to score a political brownie point. We are just stating the fact. We are just stating the obvious. Hurriyat, Jamaat, they have been banned, and an atmosphere of peace, an atmosphere of security and stability has been successfully established in Jammu and Kashmir since the last 10 years. This is what I am not speaking, but this is what the data suggests from the last 10 years, Rahul.
Okay, General Bakshi, the repeal of AFSPA, whether today or in the lead up to that great momentous election that is going to take place in September, because that's when the Supreme Court has said that's the deadline to hold that election. The repeal of AFSPA, it appears to me, is part, as Mr. Paswan is saying, of the government's commitment to the people of Jammu and Kashmir that they will hand them back a state where the ease of living will be very apparent to everyone. And it will be a new Naya Kashmir which will have all the accoutrements of a fully functional democracy like in any other state in the Union?
You know, Rahul, as an aspirational objective, as a desirable end state of complete normalcy, yes, when there is complete normalcy, there will be no AFSPA. That is totally understandable. But in the current scenario, I agree with Sushant entirely. Just last year, last few months, we had a series of encounters in Rajouri and Poonch. You know, yes, the situation has improved drastically. When I was serving there were 5,000 armed terrorists from 2000 to 2005. 60% of them were foreign terrorists. Today there are just 150 armed terrorists left in the state of Jammu and Kashmir. Most of them are lying low. Most of them are on sporadic hit and run cases against soft targets, occasionally striking at some poor Kashmiri Pandit or some Indian labor. There are no stone pelting, it's all stopped, and things have come very close to normal. But my experience in J&K has been that when we prematurely lift the pressure, we run the strong risk of a total, reversal of the situation, because there are a lot of things which are not in your hand. What Pakistan will do, Pakistan is hell-bent to see that things don't normalize. So you can't take a guarantee for what Pakistan will do or not do. As it is, they are trying very hard to revive insurgency in the districts of Rajouri and Poonch. I was Romeo Force commander, and by 2005 we had broken the back of terrorism in the Rajouri-Poonch sector by the cumulative pressure of Hop Sarp Vinash and the operations that followed in the wake, which I had to conduct into the towns and villages where they had come to from that Hilkaka area. So it was all under control. It was, and then that we had a period of complacency sort of thing, and snakes and ladders. Jammu and Kashmir has seen so many snakes and ladders that just when we thought things were going very well, then there is a sense of euphoria that comes in. Oh, let's declare normalcy, let's get back to absolute peacetime solutions. I'm afraid make haste slowly. Make haste slowly would be my very, very cautious and tempered advice. I've spent a lifetime fighting in J&K. I've seen this thing happen again and again. Doda, Kishtwar districts, we thought we had it totally pacified. They lifted troops from there, situation back to where it was. Back to where? Snakes and ladders. You reached 98, 99 and one set of incidents and you are back to where you were. So to make haste slowly, do it cautiously, yes.
Okay.
As an aspirational objective, desirable end state, fine. Yeah, of course, we have to go to a state which is totally normal. That is the desired end state. But that you can do it day after tomorrow, I don't think so. I'm sorry.
General Sivach, let me bring you into this conversation. It's an important one because, yes, Jammu and Kashmir is at a point of inflection. And as we are climbing up the ladder to normalcy, General Bakshi has invoked the snakes. There is a possibility. Sushant Sareen says so. Mr. Paswan says that, look, we won't even be having a conversation. When was the last time a conversation like this was had? But it was a political conversation. We've seen the opposition there in Jammu and Kashmir periodically, the National Conference, etc., impleading with the centre. In fact, when it was in government with the UPA, or at least was a partner of the UPA, it was beseeching the government then to repeal AFSPA. We weren't ready then, of course, and luckily better sense prevailed. Today there seems to be a feeling that we could move towards that, and very quickly. Are you in agreement?
Rahul, see, we have to consider the situation in totality. There are two issues as far as this problem is concerned. One is internal, one is external. Now, of course, the internal issues by and large are giving you indication that the situation is fast improving. It is becoming normal. No doubt, as far as the Kashmir Valley concerned, I having served there almost about 20-25 years, one can say the situation wasn't as good as it is now. There are residual about 100 terrorists which are left. They are without weapon and ammunition. The leadership of Lashkar-e-Toba, Jaish-e-Mohammed, is almost completely wiped out. They are now resorting to a target killing. Normally, the OGW and sleeper cell, their backbone has been also broken. But certainly one thing one has to understand, they are not by themselves. Their strings are connected with Pakistan. And there are about 10,000 Lashkar-e-Toba and Jaish-e-Mohammed terrorists sitting in POJK and in Gilgit, Pakistan, equipped with modern weapons left by Americans in Afghanistan. So therefore, the moment Pakistan get this opportunity of pumping in the terrorists, they will certainly do. As on today, there is a political instability, economic crisis, there is a terrorism which is increasing in Pakistan. So they are not able to do it. But thinking that tomorrow they will not do it, that may be slightly over ambitious. Now, I will only say that yes, Armed Forces Special Power Act should be removed. Is it a right time? This is the first step on the ladder. You have long way to go, because the indication which are given on the ground gives you impression that things are very normal. But very rightly, what Janna Bakshi and Sujan Sreen was bringing, that the situation going back to zero is also very far. And it has happened. I agree on Rajouri Poonch when we realized it. The situation is so normal that we have moved some troops for LAC and also for LOC.
True.
And we almost thought that Rajouri Poonch has become absolutely peaceful. And imagine now south of Pir Panjal has become most active. And that is the area which has got a lot of jungles. The same time in south of Kashmir, once upon a time it was looking the south of Kashmir has become very peaceful. And we removed that pressure from the south of Kashmir, increased our strength on line of control, because there's a firing which was taking place with Pakistan. And at that point in time, again, south of Kashmir became very active and remain active till now. So therefore, the point which comes is that, of course, the intention of Home Ministry is very good. Since the normalcy has come in J&K, there should be a scope of removal of Armed Forces Special Power Act.
Okay.
But it has to be done in a very phased manner. It may be a first step. I will only recommend following. I say, in case if you have to think of even removing Armed Forces Special Power Act, the RR, Rashtriya Rifle, is the backbone of fighting terrorism in Valley. Do not remove that. Keep that grid intact of counter-terrorism and counter-insurgency. Try to give more power to the police. Let them handle it. Okay. You see, police has been very effective.
Okay.
But police has been effective because there is a Rashtriya Rifle. Just hear me out, Rahul. If they have to operate individually, and in case there is a political pressure on the party which will be coming in the rule in assembly election, this will make a tremendous impact. So my point is, Rahul, yes, your intention is good. First of all, don't do anything till the assembly election has taken place.
Okay.
Let the new government take on, stabilize itself, see the situation, and in case you have to do it in a phased manner and keep the Rashtriya Rifle there only.
Okay.
So that in case the situation goes,
General Saab,
then you can come back again.
So General Saab, now I have about 4 minutes on this debate, and there are 3 hands that have been raised. So I'm very quickly going to each one of them. Gentlemen, General Bakshi, you wanted to make a quick point, Mr. Sareen, and then Guru Paswan, I want to come to you for a final comment. Yes, General Bakshi.
You know, that is the precise thing. The Armed Forces Special Powers Act is to give legal cover to the armed forces.
Yeah.
Now, we all want the armed forces to remain, but without the legal cover. I'm afraid that's not being very fair to the armed forces. Therefore, I would once again reiterate, as a desirable end state, fine, but you have to make haste slowly.
Okay.
Right now, you have the police functioning under the center.
Yes.
There's a totally changed scenario.
That's
tomorrow a state government comes in, tomorrow a different political dispensation come in. We know the havoc they have created in the past.
I think you're very right, General
Saab. Like I said,
you're very right on this one particular point. We don't still know. We've cured everything, but have we cured the mindset of the indigenous Kashmiri valley politician? That's the fundamental question here. That's perhaps the elephant in the room. Yes, Sushant Sareen, you wanted to make a point.
Yeah, Rahul, 4 very quick points. One, Guru Prakash Paswan gives us some data, and I don't doubt the data, that's accurate. But the point is that the data is only a small pointer. It does not explain to you what might be happening at a subterranean level. One. Secondly, to give examples of what happened in the northeast, Assam and other places, that's comparing apples with oranges. And even in, for example, Manipur, when you did a partial removal, you had a lot of problems on your hand because terrorism, including in Jammu and Kashmir, and as the two generals have explained to you, it's like it has a balloon effect. Once you start pressing on one side, all of these lowlives actually move to another side where there is where they find easier to operate.
Right.
So if you remove AFSPA from one or two districts, they will carry out some action out there and go into other places.
Good
Number
point.
3, how do you remove, you can keep the RR, but then it's an impotent force because the RR derives its potency from AFSPA. The RR is manned almost entirely by military. It does not have police powers on its own. AFSPA has to be effective.
Yes.
If the RR has to be effective, it must have AFSPA. The back of AFSPA. Otherwise, it simply doesn't work. And last point, look, I can understand the politics of it and I have nothing against it. You are trying to make a political gesture. But I think you need to be careful on that. You should not raise expectations which you might have to belie going forward, even less so in a state like Jammu and Kashmir.
Okay. So, Mr. Paswan, let me ask you this question in a different way. And please be honest. How central is repealing AFSPA to the BJP's project of claiming that it has established normalcy in Jammu and Kashmir? How central is it? Or does it not matter at all?
Rahul, what is central to the BJP project is a strong sense of peace, stability, security, development.
Yeah, but is that linked to the withdrawal of AFSPA? Will you say that, look, we've given you this security and look what we have done. We've even removed AFSPA, which no one has had the guts to do in about 35 years.
General Swaj made a very important point when he said that the suggestion, and obviously whenever the discussion goes ahead, there would be stakeholder consultation. There would be discussion at the most decentralized level that we can imagine. What our point is, what I'm trying to convey is that only a couple of decades ago, Rahul, we saw a US president referring Kashmir as a nuclear flashpoint.
True.
Not, you would have followed. I think all of us there are followed that Kashmir was the nuclear flashpoint in the eyes of the US president, one of the most powerful leaders of the world. And today, from nuclear flashpoint, we have come to a time where we are at least contemplating of having a discussion in this direction. We have a very simple point. So today, whether to do it in a phased manner, whether to not do it in a phased manner, partial revocation or not, that would be done after stakeholder consultation.
Okay.
And nothing would be done.
So you're saying it isn't really central to the BJP's project to claim that they have established normalcy. Well, that's heartening to know, viewers, because sometimes politicians get a little carried away by their own rhetoric, and that can become problematic because it seems to hold them to conduct themselves or take decisions which may not actually be, at least in this narrow context,
Rahul, can I say something?
In favor of the national interest. So I've really run out of time. We'll debate this going forward. I've run out of time. I'm taking a very short break, viewers. When we come back, second half of Crux, where we are looking at a very important question. Don't go away, viewers.